Hello and welcome to the HR session at InsureNEXT. Nurturing people is one of the most important activities in any organization. Like I was listening once to Mr. Narayan Murthy's session, where he said that if you want to nurture things for one day, grow flowers. If you want to nurture people for few months, grow plants. If you want to nurture things for the future for about 20, 30 years, grow trees. And if you want to nurture the society around you forever, nurture people. And I'm really honored to have a set of luminaries with me who are nurturing people all over. And I would like to welcome each one of these luminaries here to this first session on HR at InsureNEXT Summit and Awards 2022. I would like each one of them to introduce themselves. Priya, can you please take the mantle and introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Thank you, Babu. And hello, everybody. My name is Priya Vasudevan. I am the CHRO at Liberty General Insurance.
I am Ruchira Bharadwaj, everybody. A very good afternoon to you. I am the CHRO at Kotak Life Insurance.
Good afternoon to all. I am Vishwesh Kulkarni. I head the organization called Yashasvi Academy for Skills. We are basically the skill development company, and we are the largest third-party aggregator for providing the apprenticeship program. I am also National President for National Institute of Personnel Management, that is NIPM. Thank you so much, Mr. Babu, for this opportunity.
Good afternoon to everybody. This is Praveen Menon. I head HR at India First Life Insurance, and I'm responsible for people.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be in the August company. And thanks to Banking Frontiers for organizing this. My name is Prakhar, and I am a director at Deloitte Consulting India.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Shweta. I head HR for Future Generali Life Insurance.
So my first question goes here. With the entry of InsurTech, RegTech, and technology grade gathering a strong pace, it is challenging for HR heads to equip organizations with competent HR resources to take up the tech-savvy mantle. How have organizations working on the reskilling part here? Ruchira, you have been working in the life insurance space. Can you share some perspective on how you are equipping your teams?
Sure, Babu. I find there is deeply exciting work that is happening currently. And that is a very exciting phase for the HR professionals. Firstly, after many years, the leadership, employees, everybody included, are really focusing on upskilling and reskilling. And that's half the battle won. So the answer to the first part of your question, is it challenging? I think not anymore. At Kotak, we have a three-pronged approach. One is upskilling of the HR through external resources. And these are highly customized, best-in-class training focus on newer skill, whether it is managing ambiguity, whether it is really designing new programs for the differentiated needs that the customers, which is internal customers, have, whether it is about tech, whether it is about digital, whether it is about data. So that's really the upskilling piece. That is part one. The second piece, what we have done, Babu, is on-the-job projects. Almost, I think 50% of my team members are constantly working on new initiatives, new projects. And these are really about designing processes which are going to make life easier and simpler for our employees. Creating a digital framework, or whether it is about understanding data in a much more meaningful way, and really driving next-gen tech processes and initiatives. So that's the second thing that we're doing. And the third piece, and the last but not the least, is really the mindsets. I find that's the most interesting part. Everyone is not always in the team is exhilarated by the change in the work, or especially the changing paradigms of the nature of work that has happened post the pandemic. But once I have realized, once you expose them to how the world is steering towards and what are the new things that other companies might be doing in the HR space, I have seen there are early adopters, early enthusiasts, and then they really champion the cause of really settling in, learning more, learning fast, and driving the change.
Prakhar, you have been working as a practitioner from the consulting space. How have you been seeing organizations working into, transforming themselves, especially in this technology-driven space?
Sure. So, Babu, I'll try and keep this answer pertinent to insurance as a sector. Now, long story short, technology talent isn't indigenous to insurance. If you think about from the advent of when the insurance companies started coming up in India, they were not the first or the second choice or option when they started looking for an employer. And therefore, you never had the best of tech talent join insurance companies. Even to that extent, most of the big banks and bigger financial enterprises have struggled to get tech talent. And that continues to be the challenge even today. However, primarily from an insurance perspective, very dispassionately, there are only 3 players today which are pure play insurtechs, right? Everyone else has, to a certain extent, in certain part of the value chain, used or leveraged a lot of technology, be it underwriting, be it claim processing, be it the way the entire agency management and distribution is done. Now, across all these value chains, you will have different kind of tech talent which is asked for or which is looked for. And I'm trying not to answer just the tech part in HR, but the overall tech part in insurance. 3 things have to change, and 3 things where insurers have successfully done changes and have yielded the benefits. One is, how do you develop the ecosystem where you can absorb the tech talent? Tech talent, like any other talent, would fundamentally look for what's in it for me. From a career perspective, from a learning perspective, and the tangible output what an employee gets out of an employment. The very first part of what's in it for me is the career growth. For a typical tech talent, it's a very specialist career trajectory, right? So where can he go from a time he comes into an insurance company, and what's his career trajectory? If that can be defined, really helps. That traditional tech talent is very clearly visible in a product or a services led core tech company. Not so much in FS. Companies which have been able to do it have actually been able to leverage it a lot, have been able to attract talent. Second, the way you structure the entire benefit package for them. And when I say benefit, I use it in the larger gamut of compensation, the periphery benefits, the non-tangibles, the flexi part of benefits, and all of that. That kind of talent is used to, given the age group that they represent, is used to getting the benefits in a certain manner and a flexibility associated with that. That's the easier part because you can still structure it in a certain manner. But the most important part is the ecosystem. When the tech talent comes in, it expects a certain career. It also expects a certain kind of hand-holding. If insurers and employers can give both of those things, it tends to go a long way. Creating a career hierarchy amidst a bunch of well-defined, well-thought-through, segmented jobs in insurance for a different tech vertical seems to be a challenge with most insurers grapple with. But if that is solved for, it tends to be attractive for tech talent as well.
Now, how has been talent transformation also keeping pace with it? So in this entire thing, how are the leaders in human resources equipping their talent accordingly? I can request Praveen to probably start off with how he sees this transformation happening.
Sure. Thank you, Babu. As rightly mentioned by you, Babu, if you see various alternates in terms of doing business that exist today, it's actually completely changed the entire ball game, how especially in the life insurance industry, the business is done. Today, we are talking about not only agency or a bank assurance model, but we are also talking about things like micro, things like digital, things like strategic alliances as well. Now, when we talk about things like a strategic alliances, the industry or the company is actually co-partnering with, let's assume, a firm or an industry which has got possibly nothing to do with insurance, right? So the thought process is that, okay, if you are going to co-partner with an industry which has got nothing to do with insurance, how is your product sustainable for that industry also to accept insurance as a part of their product portfolio? If you'd have heard in the past, in let's say in Western countries, you travel in an Uber, there is an insurance for, when you enter, the Uber till the destination, there is a insurance cover given to the customer in case if the customer prefers to, choose one. And the question is, so the travel time would be 30 minutes or a 1 hour. and you are actually covered for that period. So the insurance company actually has to go back and completely personalize this and provide with a product which is up there, so that an industry which has got, as I mentioned, nothing to do with insurance also in some way gets tied in to the product itself. Now, if you have to do something like that, you need talent who can actually think through this entire stuff, right? It is not only tech enabled, it is process, it is regulatory, it is compliance, it is margins that you can make out of it. All of those things comes into the picture. And next half a decade, you would see that, especially in life insurance, these things actually going to a different phase altogether, because Prakhar mentioned that technology is something which every company is actually looking forward to inculcate as a part of their ecosystem. And when a technology is available for you to make a product which is agile, then the sky is the limit. And the agility in terms of people to understand that possibly today there is no demand, but the demand is certainly going to come in future, or you create a demand, is something that would be sought after as a skill, as a thought process amongst the employees. And I think organizations are consciously trying to build it in, if the employees are already there, or trying to kind of recruit people who understand these aspects and partner with the business in this journey, which is something which possibly Indian sector has not really seen very much till now.
Mr. Vishwas, you have been working towards skilling the people in the insurance sector and trying to see how new talents can get into, especially with this hybrid insurance capability. The requirement of people getting into the sector is growing. How do you see this problem getting solved, not only by the industry itself? How can external skill development bodies come together to get these things done for the sector?
I think I am not still able to understand why this insurance sector is not related with the academics. There is no specialized program, at least I have seen. There might be in India somewhere, but I have not seen some popular program in this sector. We have come across with the MBA in the health management, hospitality, and lot of specialized program. In Pune University, we have a trekking also as a management program for that matter. But insurance being a huge sector, and particularly after this COVID-19, I think every family is thinking about this insurance. So such a growing sector. Unfortunately, neither we have any program at the graduation level, nor we have any program at the management level. At least we should have something for the back office. We should have something for the front office. Till today, as a consumer, when I see this insurance industry, we always feel that there are certain marketing people who just sell these policies. And this is called as a so-called very insecure job, because if you are not able to do the marketing, you are out. So I think that age-old image of this insurance sector is still today with the, at least at large in the public, since these all are the HR stalwarts from the insurance industry, they might have different opinion. I'm just sharing from this as a consumer or a third party or as an outsider, what is the image about this insurance sector? I think that need to be somewhere. These all insurance industry should come together, have a specific dedicated program for the insurance. Like, for example, we are working in the apprenticeship sector at large in India. We are coming with the concept of a graduate apprenticeship program. So degree-based apprenticeship program, we call it. So can this insurance sector can come together? We can develop some BBA program, Bachelor of Administration, for this specific insurance sector for the 3 years, so that person can work in the insurance sector, whatever back office, financial analyst, or whatever the marketing is there. He will be treated as an apprentice, so no label or no statutory will be there. And then we can impart him this graduation program for the specific for the insurance sector. We can take some graduate people, we can engage them for the post-graduation part of it for the MBA with the various universities. Even we can go for this open university also for that matter, and do this pan-India programs. This is a need of an hour. And apart from that, this National Skill Development Corporation already having the banking finance sector, where there are a lot of programs, basically, even in the insurance sector are there, can be definitely considered and given this kind of a certification to the existing manpower also. So they can also get in-depth knowledge of this theoretical part also, apart from this day-to-day operational part.
So how are we going to ensure that is there a shortage of talent being perceived in the near future? And if so, how are organizations working on ensuring a steady pipeline on one side, and B, on nurturing the existing talent and withstanding the competition in this sector? Priya, I would like you to share some thoughts and perspectives on that.
So thank you, Babu, for that question. It's quite an interesting and future-looking question. And, I like the word that you used earlier about there is an insurance explosion, which is like we are on the edge of it, that is about to happen. I completely agree with that. And the positive side of that is all these players, the InsureTech and other players coming in. So I would consider, I would not look at it as a threat. I would look at it as an opportunity. I mean, it's a good thing that this is happening. It's creating more jobs. And somewhere as an HR professional, I feel it's a moment for the employee to be in the spotlight, and all good things come after that. So coming back to organizations, I think the strategy of most organizations, including Liberty, what we are doing is actually working around three pillars, so to say. The first pillar is attracting talent from fresh talent pools. So I completely agree with what Mr. Kulkarni said, and this is one of my learning from this panel, is that how about looking at apprentices for, as a steady pipeline into, we have been and we continue to hire management trainees, freshers. So that becomes, of course, a good chunk. The other chunk, and this I'm more talking about the feet on street kind of hiring, but there is also a dearth of talent and this kind of land grab happening in the mid levels as well. So how do we protect and create a steady flow for that talent? And here is where I feel, I mean, we need to think a little differently. I'm still at it, but I don't say that I'm very successful yet. It's about looking at other sectors. Looking at hiring from other sectors at the mid level. We tend to hire, employees from other sectors at the junior level, but how about at the mid level? And right now, the lack in the sector is of managerial and leadership talent. So, can we hire from stable and older sectors, like say pharmaceuticals, for example, and that sector with a lot of very attractive, ready, talent, so to say, anchored in values and things like that an employer would prefer. The second piece to this is how do we retain? So if there are holes in the bucket, the more you hire, and you're losing still talent, so it doesn't help the cause. So how do you retain, especially the key talent? And while compensation is a lever, and it will continue to be, I feel the employee or the key talent of today is much more concerned about careers, much more concerned about the work culture than earlier. So are we providing courageous movements to our key talent? Are we enabling those movements? So this is something that we are working at Liberty to enable these movements. And then are we providing the ecosystem that will support those movements, make these key talents successful in that in that new role? So as the talent sees that, my career is progressing, if not vertically, there is lateral movement, I'm growing, if he or she feels a sense of buoyancy, and that's when, I mean, I've seen many of my key talents saying no to such lucrative opportunities which just come with a compensation hook, So that is the second pillar, the retention part. And the third one, which I can't emphasize enough, and I think Ruchira touched on this, is how do we change the mindset of the managers and leaders? So basically changing the whole ecosystem in terms of, and primarily the mindset, being open to hiring talent from other sectors, being open to nurturing talent. So it's the easiest thing to do is to work with ready now talent, because I mean, it requires little effort. They start producing immediately. But how do we, grow the managers and leaders to be, let's say, coaches, to be mentors, to grow the talent, to hold steady, not lose patience. 1 month doesn't go too well, and the next month we are questioning why did we even hire the person. So those kind of conversations are actually disablers. So the ecosystem needs to get ready to, to deal with this. I would say this insurance explosion that is about to happen.
And now let me move on to a practitioner like Prakhar. who has been seeing this activity where the insurers have been looking at trying to think out of the box solution. What has been your observation on out of the box solutions for these kind of strategies required?
See, there are very interesting things which got discussed in the panel. Mr. Kulkarni picked up the whole point of look at potentially other channels where you're not looking for talent, right? And he specifically meant academia and focus tie-ups. Praveen used a very interesting term called agile, and it's important to understand when he said agile, and probably his thought process was also trying to talk about the fact that in a industry which can change itself through technology, there's a lot to be unearthed. We need to stop looking at jobs and look at it as a continuum of skills, right? It's a continuum, because as the dynamics changed 2 years back, a lot of skills which today are very relevant were not relevant back then, but that has changed, right? So one, stop looking at jobs. Look at everything that people are doing as a continuum of skills. Second, Priya touched upon the point. In the work environment, we are flexing everything from nothing which was flexible 2 years back. Now everyone is trying to change everything and make everything flexible. The most important part is to create our managers and create that ecosystem for them to understand how to work in a hybrid culture, get in that mindset change. That's what Priya spoke about. And finally, I think very often, not just in insurance, everywhere we work with clients, we realize there is the whole predictive bit gets abused a lot. So get into the implementation mode to check, validate, and it's called quick testing hypothesis and implementing it, rather than doing a lot of analysis paralysis, which basically also means that rather than trying to do predictive attrition, try and understand where attrition has caused the most value deterioration, right? So amongst every department that you have in your company, look at where most value has been eroded because of attrition, right? Which also in a way would tell you where institutional knowledge is the most important aspect, where it is very difficult to replenish that information in a short cycle time. That in a way can be used when you're doing your staffing the next time, when you're planning for your manpower the next time, when you're trying to get in efficiency parameters. So those are the things in a nutshell, 3 broad parameters. Trying to look at skills and not just jobs, because most of the time, look at HR. Some of the biggest names in insurance today deliberately don't hire people from insurance background or rather banking background, and they hire people because HR is a skill, right? It may be a job today in insurance, but do you necessarily need someone who has done insurance in the past to come and do it in another insurance company? No, you don't. It's a skill. How many functions can replicate that model, right? Second, as I said, get into fast testing hypothesis and implementing it, fail the failure first concept, rather than continue to analysis paralyze the whole bit of whether what is predictive, what is not predictive. And the final bit is flexi arrangement will work if we train our managers on how to handle teams in a virtual environment. So bring in that mindset change.
Shweta, which are the sectors in which you as an HR professional envy as a great sector which manages talent, and where you will probably like to fish your talent from, or probably nurture your talent from, according to you?
Babu, I think all of us are today sitting in that envious position because the entire oasis of talent is open for us. The fact that HR practitioners here today and business stakeholders are talking about looking at talent outside, yes, maybe in very limited capacity, but I think that itself is a great start. As an HR professional, I've always envied the spirit and the ingenuity that several sectors have to offer when it comes to managing talent. Let me just take a very simple example, right? Look at the robust trainee to executive model that a manufacturing setup has created. They hire graduate trainees year on year, and we've seen several successful people rising the ranks from there and taking on the mantles of being executives in those firms. Same goes for a pharmaceutical industry, same goes for a banking industry. But I think in the private insurance sector, we still don't have a CEO or a COO who started their career as a salesperson in an insurance organization. I think we are yet to see that shift to happen. And the fact that all of us are today talking about, and the mind space that has got created for us, we're talking about opening up the talent for other sectors to also participate and for us to also go and hire talent from other sectors, I think it's absolutely welcoming. I don't see this stopping here. I think, like I said, the entire oasis of talent is available for us, and progressive insurers such as Future Generali and several others here are looking at making the best and getting the best person in rather than getting the most trained person.
How are you thinking about, for example, the rewarding strategies there? Okay. That is one of the most important magnet to attract the people as well, by adopted by the HR managers. So how have you been working on it?
So I don't think we've seen a lot of innovative reward practices, if I can use that word, being deployed by the insurance sector. I think all of us in the room are to blame for it for a large extent. But I think there's interesting thoughts that have started. One small example that I've been now discussing, right, to say, can I create a value proposition for a sales manager who's coming into my organization, for him or her to see that it's not just the here and now. It is not what you will bring in the business for today or for this year that I will reward you, but you participating in the AUM creation of the organization, right? So giving that person a line of sight and rewarding back in some ways and means for them to look at the long-term association, right? I think, and Prakhar used a very good example to say that it's not a job, but really for people to start looking at this as a career choice. I think we are at it. Most of us are talking about innovative reward practices, but yes, we have an ecosystem to also convince to have those reward practices to be put to use in our organizations. But I'm sure we'll get at it.
I have a lot of interesting ladies in this part of the panel, and I want to ask all three of them. You have all gone through this phase of taking a sabbatical, and there are a lot of times when you could not give 100% to the jobs, and there is a lot of hidden talent today in the industry which is not doing its full-fledged work of 100%, and they are raring to go. And when they want to come back to work, there again is a issue because they have lost years of experiences. How are HR professionals actually looking at digging into this talent pool and see how you can use this talent, especially with work from home and other possibilities in this?
I feel there is a gap in every aspect of the life insurance ecosystem. And I have almost never seen a product which is designed for women. I have seen, I think it stems from a very deep-rooted bias that insurance is for the main earner of the household. So the industry's conventional wisdom on choosing a plan is to multiply your current earning, and which further devalues the impact of a spouse who has a lower salary or who is a stay-at-home parent. When I see ads, I see they talk about the man who has to protect the family, and the woman and the child can only be saved by a life insurance product that the man has invested in. So in Kotak Life, what we have been doing, I would say 4 things, and I will break it into the aspects that we are doing for frontline, for mid-level, and obviously at the top level also, and some very interesting initiatives that are at a very nascent stage. So at the frontline level, we have kept a target for some hiring women colleagues, and I'm very proud to state that almost 45% of the people who we hire, especially the GTs and the MTs, are women. And there's a huge amount of focus that goes into seeing that there's an investment in making their career very meaningful, and so that they stay put. At the mid-level, what we have done is we have identified women who have high potential, and they're being mentored by women at the leadership positions. And it's really a one-on-one skilling and mentoring program that is happening, which is on career progression, life skills, and really making a difference in the organization. Now, why I'm talking about this is because this is the workforce which really goes out, right? They go on sabbatical. They take a break because they have to support an ailing parent, or they have to support their spouse's career. Why I'm focusing on this is because once you say that this is a workforce that is going to continue with us and going to make a very meaningful impact with us, we really need to have hire them, nurture them, and see that the ecosystem is provided to them so that they continue to work for us. Now, for whichever reason, we choose that they are not going to be part of the organization because of, again, there are so many other imperatives that come into the focus. And so for that, and that's something that we have started very recently. And it's a very interesting work that has happened. In fact, something that we had done, Shweta and I had done in the previous organization also, is that develop a proposition for such talent or the workforce, both internally as well as to attract the ones who are outside of the organization. So every lady employee who has shown an inclination to quit the workforce because of certain challenges, we counsel them, we guide them to take a temporary sabbatical, and or also maybe continue to work on a part-time contract which suits their temporary need, so that they are really not going out of the workforce, right? And we saw this Economist study that got published last year that almost 7% of women workforce have fallen out, and urban workforce has fallen out of working, right? And that's something that we want to protect. So that's for the people who are with us. And also for our colleagues who are taking a break during the maternity phase, we reach out to the alternate workforce that you're talking about, Babu, to join us for that particular role. It serves two purposes. If by chance the permanent woman colleague takes a decision to stay away, we might have a ready replacement available. And it also provides the lady who has gone on maternity leave to come back to the workforce in a gradual manner. There's no pressure for her to really come back quickly and saying, oh, my 6 months of maternity leave is over and somebody is really breathing down my neck to come back to work. So those are the ways we are trying to protect the people who are, as I said, attract, nurture, guide them, counsel them so that they continue to build a career with Kotak Life. And also in cases they have to take a sabbatical, we really again counsel and guide them, saying how they can really continue to work with us on a part-time basis and also fill those positions with these alternate workforce who are out there.
It's very important for the women employees to feel included. So inclusion is a part where the organizations need to work on, and forming community groups. So at Liberty, we have something we call the VERG. V stands for women employees and ERG is the employee resource group. So we have found employee resource groups are very helpful in attracting and also retaining and making the women included. And the other concept is men as allies. And both these are areas that we are working on with very, very good outcomes.
In addition to what Ruchira and Priya mentioned, what we have done at India First Life is that we have a policy of providing a replacement temporary hire in case if any women is actually going on maternity. Now, what used to happen is the fact that at times, whether we like it or not, there is a prejudice in terms of hiring women. And the moment we say that don't worry about the headcount, you will be provided with an additional headcount for the period that women is on a maternity leave. The thought process was that the entire hiring processes mindset completely gets changed to begin with. And that is something which I thought that I'll add as a pointer here in terms of we promoting and changing the mindset of making sure that everything is even and everybody gets a level playing field.
Organizations really need to put a lot of emphasis on building managerial maturity. It's a young sector, and maybe that is an area that we have not really focused enough on. So building managerial maturity is I would say, the first step, and everything else kind of follows.
Wonderful. Shweta, what is your take?
I see a world, or I see a future where insurance as a concept, insurance as a subject is not just introduced in graduation, but I'm going way back in schools. So I want to create a world where career choice, when you have, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer, I want to become an insurance professional, should be something maybe that we'll hear our children in future really talk about. So that's food for thought.
I think insurance cannot be looked at as a fuddy-duddy old sector or sector. It has to be a hip and happening place, and it is for all of us to change that perception by really doing some concrete things. For example, having vacations, allow people to really work from wherever while they are taking vacation. The second is really having an upskilling and reskilling agenda there. People are looking to upskill themselves. Let's ride the bandwagon, and not just for now, the digital piece and the data piece and everything, but really for the future, 10 years, 20 years down the line. And third thing is flexibility about where and when to work.
Prakhar, as a practitioner in the insurance space, how do you see this?
I'm sure most of the points have been covered, and if you look at the points which got discussed are very pertinent, given it's coming from practitioners who have spent years in this industry. I think I just have one point to add. Reward as a lever or as a retention mechanism will undergo a lot of change, primarily because it will get more and more regulated. If you think about reward choices today in insurance, and if other subsectors within financial services are precedents for the future, it will get more and more regulated, right from the senior management compensation to the middle management compensation. If you look at the sales and to what extent the commission structures are governed today, there's still a structure behind it, but an aggregated level, which allows insurance companies to play around with individual compensations. All of that will change in next 5 to 10 years because it's going to get more and more regulated. That's the journey of any reward cycle or compensation across financial services. At the end of the day, it's a regulated industry. So that's one thing that's going to happen in the near future.
I think what I feel personally is that there is a lot of job insecurity feeling about the insurance sector at large. That need to be removed. The sense of this job security is much more important and much more required. Then I feel that we have a pharma skill development. We have a lot of skill development centers across India in the various domains, but I never came across with any insurance skill development center. So such kind of a concept need to be built. There are a lot of CSR this insurance company might be spending. They can spend this some kind of a CSR on developing these skills specifically required for today and future, which will be coming in the insurance, because it will be definitely having a lot of changes and very fast changes. So we really need to have such kind of a skill centers and skill building and the capability building in the basically insurance sector. I think that we need to have. And I said that again, there is a program like apprenticeship, which government is trying to pursue in a large way. The target is now 10 lakh apprentices a year. Presently, we are at 3 lakh apprentices. So that I think insurance sector, banking sector are the sector who are the key contributor in this area, where they can really come up with this young talent. They can take them as an apprentice, they can groom them, they can develop them like a degree-based apprenticeship program for the insurance sector. I think these are the things which I look into. There's a huge potential in this sector.
I think the organizations now across the insurance sectors, what they are trying to do is to create an ecosystem where people are also successful. The organization will be successful, that is one part, but also the people within the organization needs to be successful. So that ecosystem building is what is currently happening. And I guess in next few years' time, there would be this opportunity of different genres of talent wanting to come into the industry, and also industry will have to really ring fence the talent, because the talent would have really got scaled up and they would be ready to get on to some other industry as well.
Wonderful. I wish we had more time to have conversation, but I think we could wrap up quite a lot of stuff in this last 40 to 50 minutes. And I think it is also time to inculcate a culture of intrapreneurship amongst the people to make everyone equally responsible. And that could create the workforce of the future with equal dedication, equal sharing, equal participation, and also reduce the amount of attrition to take our businesses to the next level. Thank you very much, everyone, for a wonderful session and for a wonderful enlightening from each one of your thoughts. We look forward to have all of you in our future sessions as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.